Welcome to Reparenting Daily, your free daily guide for inner child healing and repairing the relationship with yourself. This podcast helps you establish a consistent reparenting routine and is divided into 3 sections. The first is the daily reading, the second is a discussion of the reading, followed by suggested journal prompts, and the last section is peaceful binaural beats meditation for closing. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from whenever and wherever you're joining us. I'm so glad that you could join us on this journey of self-expansion. If this is your first time here, welcome. As a celebration of passing episode 700, I've opened a free membership tier for the Patreon community so you can access additional resources and join the weekly Zoom calls for free. I know there's a lot going on in the world right now and that so many people are really struggling. My hope here is to still encourage others to continue the work on reparenting and to offer a free community where people can come together and do that. I'd also like to thank all of you who've been along on the journey so far. Just as a reminder, this is a free podcast, but you can support the project by purchasing the Reparenting Daily Journal, where you can follow us along all year. This 333-page journal gives you extra insight and resources for each week, and also provides space for you to keep your notes. Another way to support the podcast is to purchase the Fairy Tales for Reparenting series, volumes 1 through 3. This collection organizes famous and obscure fairy tales from around the world into the 3 phases of the hero's journey. While you might think that fairy tales are for kids, I'd like to challenge you. These stories contain profound truths and lessons carried down over millennia that we can use in our reparenting journey. It's a fun way to reconnect with your inner child. Each volume comprises 10 fairy tales. They include an analysis section to help you dive deeper into the message, as well as journal prompts and space to reflect on the story's meaning in your life. Lastly, you can also support the project by taking a paid Patreon subscription, by purchasing the books on the website, or by donating via Buy Me a Coffee. You can find all this information on the Support Us section of the website. So now, with these announcements out of the way, let's dive into today's practice. Today, we're going to be listening to a video and portion of a video entitled The Truth About Rage After Childhood Trauma. This is a video by Teahan, MSW. He has outstanding content on this. He is a therapist with lived experience, most importantly, as well as significant academic experience. I highly recommend that you check out his channel. He has truly a collection of invaluable resources. You can also click on the link in the show notes by clicking on his name, and you will be taken to his personal website where you can find out more about him and all of his offerings. Now, I've selected this because, just as a reminder, we are in August, and the theme for this month is Healing the Inner Child. We're in week 3. And the theme for this week is healing childhood wounds. Now, I've selected this topic because it's one that's been coming up for me quite consistently. I know I'm not the only one. My rage and anger has been on the surface at least since my high school era, era. I don't know where that came from. And it's something that has been surfacing up more and more at this level or stage of the journey as I begin to truly realize and to truly begin to access somatically all of the emotions, the consequences, the realizations of how I grew up, of the other relationships with friendships and partners that I pursued because of how my parents treated and programmed me. And that causes a lot of rage. And that is even an understatement to say that causes a lot of rage. I feel like I almost have become the rage, and that is a sign that we need to take a step back and calm down, which is also why I'm sharing this with you, because in light of everything else that's happening in the world right now and trying to process our trauma and pain simultaneously, it's important to gain that emotional awareness, the emotional intelligence to be able to sift through what is really driving our rage at any particular time, because there can be many things, of course. And so one thing that I really want to remind you guys is that we must let ourselves access our anger and the theme from June was establishing boundaries, right? From July last month is establishing boundaries and assertiveness. And unless you have access to your rage, truly your rage, because there is a stored pool of rage like the lava at the bottom of an inactive volcano, just sitting there waiting to explode. There is a pool of rage under you. And it's better that we start addressing that before we lose control of how that begins to show up and affect our lives. So without further ado, let's go ahead and listen to The Truth About Rage After Childhood Trauma with Teahan. We're only listening to just over 5 minutes of this video. It's about 35 minutes long. So you can click on the link in the show notes, the title, to find it and Don't forget that by clicking on the link on his name, you can go to his personal website directly and learn more about him and his offerings there. So, well, without further ado, let's go ahead and listen to Patrick Teahan.
Inward rage folks are like superheroes who absorb dangerous energy on the battlefield. But unlike a Marvel superhero who can redirect the rage and put it out there, inward rage folks, they just absorb it instead of shooting the bad guys with what they just absorbed. You get stuck with it. Some of us can feel really defensive about being angry or having some rage. Like you're not allowed to have it, or you're bad for being angry or being really upset in general. And who of you out there gets freaked out by someone's anger or their frustration? Like even a little bit of frustration makes you feel triggered or unsafe. And some of us actually don't have enough anger or rage. And I'm not saying rage is a good thing. I'm just saying it's an emotion that comes with childhood trauma. But it makes us feel unsafe because rage and rageful people was such a consistent, dangerous thing growing up. And some have too much of it, and some really don't know how they impact others about their anger. But have you ever noticed or had a loved one be completely out of touch with their anger? Maybe if you had a parent and watching them being shut down around their anger and like, hey, you were just rear-ended and the person was so about themselves and selfish. Why aren't you pissed off? Why are you apologizing to the person who caused it? Like, where is your upset? It's confusing, right? I think having rage is a result of old situations that had to go underground in us. Rage is just, again, it's just an emotion. It's not who we are, but we tend to have some issues with it, too much or too little. But I think for childhood trauma, rage is just a byproduct from childhood trauma situations. I'm going to walk you through 4 childhood trauma situations that can impact our rage or lack thereof. One is the adults never doing the right thing, like protecting their kids or doing the work and responsibility of being a parent. Number 2 is having a sense of deep injustice or unfairness because of things that went on in your childhood where power wasn't shared about emotions or decisions or you being included in decisions. The third example is having a volatile adult or even an adult who was too passive. We swore we would never be like these people, and raise your hand out there if you had an extremely passive parent. Might that be related to some rage or lack of rage that you have? And most importantly, the fourth one is our rage can be about being erased. Like your sense of self got erased, your things got erased, your feelings of abandonment or not being taken seriously just gets completely wiped out. And as a side note, being erased as a kid means to never be considered, to be invisible or not fully seen, where the parent is like, we're moving next month, get over it. Or don't bother me with your feelings. Or your sister's going to have a sleepover tonight, so we'll celebrate your birthday next week. Or this is my new girlfriend, I don't care if you miss your mother. Or your feelings, what about my feelings? These are all examples from a toxic parent that will result in a child feeling erased. And being erased ties into that massive sense of injustice. But you are aware of that kind of connection going on. So let's pause here already and look over these 4 things. The adults not doing the right thing, a big sense of injustice or unfairness, a volatile or passive adult, or you being erased as a kid. And a big question here in childhood, were you ever allowed to be upset about any of those 4 things? Take a minute right now to either make a note to yourself or maybe leave a comment in the video about a situation that you had the valid right to be angry about something as a child, but you were never allowed to, or it got ignored, or you were overpowered about it. Were you erased in that situation? Was it about the parent never doing the right thing? Did someone else's big emotions not allow for you to have your own emotions? That's going to cause some repressed rage issues. And I'm asking because living in these situations in the day-to-day life of childhood causes these anger and rage issues, or the absence of anger and rage. The absence of anger is an anger issue, actually. And if you don't know me, I'm Patrick. I'm an educator on childhood trauma. I'm also an MSW, and I create content and resources for adults who did not grow up in safety. And you can check out my website in the video description below, or you can give a thumbs up or subscribe to the channel if you struggle with these topics and want to learn more. So the biggest takeaway from this video, just going to get to it right now, is any of these 4 things in childhood, yes, there are other examples besides the 4, they're going to cause unprocessed rage or anger issues. And yes, it sounds like a cliche, but there's going to be a reserve of unprocessed situations, or as my mentor Amanda Curtin calls it, a well of childhood that kind of runs us from within us, from our families. If you weren't safe, that's going to fuel the rage issues or lack thereof and your triggers in the present. And another revelation is the situations you went through as a child are more important to me when it comes to childhood trauma treatment than the feelings, because the situations are the things that cause the feelings. That's why, and maybe annoyingly, that I want to know your story. I'm more actually interested in your story than your symptoms, because your symptoms are probably just valid experiences of the situations or byproducts of the situations.
Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed a portion of this short video by Patrick Teahan. As always, you can click on the link in the show notes to watch this video in its entirety. I highly recommend it. Not only this video, but also his other videos, as he has a significant amount of high quality content on reparenting, because again, he is someone with lived experience, not simply someone who just wrote a book or, read a few books on this subject. He has actually walked through the fire himself. And these are the most important types of therapists that I said or encourage you to seek out for yourself, as I mentioned in the last Friday Fireside Chat. It is so important to find people who are qualified, who know what they are doing, who are informed, because you will waste years of your life. And most therapists don't have the integrity or the honesty or the respect to tell you that they cannot help you with an issue. So not trying to attack or demonize therapists like that too much, because not every therapist is bad, but many therapists, I don't want to give a percentage, but enough for this to be a serious problem, don't know what they're doing at all. And many of them actually don't care for the right reasons. Many of them are just trying to get as many continuous billable clients, as they can for their own personal success. And, then there begins to be a conflict of interest, because they don't really have the incentive to actually see you grow. They want to retain you as a paying client. So that's not the case for every therapist, but just as a heads up, people who have experienced these difficult childhoods are not always able to protect themselves, to stand up for themselves, or to establish those boundaries. And so I let you know this information as a way for you to be able to empower yourself to protect yourself and your time, your resources, and your life against spending time and money with people who don't know what they're doing and who don't respect you and don't have an understanding of this process, nor do they have potentially the integrity to point you in the right direction to someone who can actually help you. So with that little piece of empowerment out of the way, I would like to take some time to reflect on, what did you think of this video? Are you someone who holds a lot of rage? And as I mentioned before we got started with the lecture, it's something that I've struggled with for a long time. And I actually think it's better that I've struggled with controlling that rage as opposed to not having any rage. Like my mother, for example, I think, well, she has rage, but she does not seem to be able to harness it at the most appropriate times. I mean, neither do I. Since she raised me, I didn't have the best modeling for that. But I always knew that something was wrong. And that's why I've always had that rage. I don't want to say held on to it, like, in some kind of clinging sense, but I've always felt, I am pissed off because something is wrong here, And so I'm not someone who's going to allow myself to be gaslit or walked over, dominated, used, controlled. The whole point, and for me in this process, is to learn to stand up for myself, defend myself, protect myself, become stronger in my own core. And I want to encourage and empower you all to do the same. That's the most important thing, because many of us are missing authentic, genuine family and connection, even friendships. The way that society has gone now, it's increasingly difficult to find true, honest, supportive connection with other people. And it's something that we need in order to heal from the trauma. And increasing number of toxic people means that we are an increasing risk also for victimization, re-traumatization. So it becomes even more important to empower trauma survivors, particularly childhood trauma survivors who lack that robust support system, to be able to empower themselves by giving the awareness that they need to stand up for their rights, and first of all, to even understand what their rights are. Because that might be something that you struggle with. So without further ado, let's go ahead and think about some reflection questions on this topic. And I do hope that you take some time to check out this video in its entirety. But number one, are you more of an internalizer or an externalizer? Do you tend to hold your rage in, or does it seem, or do you tend to lash out or spread it outwards? Number two, in which situations do you realize you have most difficulty to manage your anger, and why? What about these or that specific scenario makes it more challenging? And number three, what do you think your rage is trying to communicate to you? Of course, there are some standard understandings, but only you are so intimately aware of your own rage, when it surfaces, how it surfaces. What is rage trying to communicate to you? Take some time to really feel this, to think about it. Where do you feel the rage in your body? Is the rage that you feel in your body, in different parts of your body, associated with different things? Take some time to truly analyze what is the rage trying to communicate with you. Because you deserve to listen to yourself. Your emotions are there as your guides. So that's it for today. As always, thanks for being here. Take care of yourself, and please do be well. Welcome back. Now, this is the third and final section of the daily podcast. This is your silent meditation. Please find a place where you can be comfortable and undisturbed, where you can relax and spend some time with yourself for the next 10 minutes. You can choose to be sitting, standing, lying down, or in whatever position makes you most comfortable today. Just take some time to listen to yourself. Next, be sure that you're taking time to be with your breath and to connect more fully with your body. Don't be disturbed or overwhelmed by your thoughts. Simply allow them to pass. Just observe them. Do not engage with your thoughts. Only be mindful of them passing, as if they are leaves drifting down top of a river. Use this time to connect with yourself, whatever time of day you are listening to this. Namaste.